Congress averted disaster once again this week by passing a short-term funding bill that will prevent a government shutdown, at least until March. In order to pass this bill, House Speaker Mike Johnson had to rely heavily on Democratic support after members of his own party threatened to tank the proposal, which is now apparently the Republican playbook for getting anything done in Congress. Lean on the Democrats to bail you out. And Speaker Mike Johnson, not yet 3 months on the job, is finding himself in the very same position as his predecessor, Kevin McCarthy. And like McCarthy, Johnson, too, is on the verge of being kicked out of the Speaker's chair for capitulating to the reality of basic governance.
I let Speaker Johnson know that in no way, shape, and form will I support any type of CR, and that if he moves forward with a separate deal trading our border security, weakening H.R. 2 in exchange for $60 billion to Ukraine, I told him yesterday in his office that I would vacate the chair.
The deal that Marjorie Taylor Greene is talking about is one that Democrats are agreeing to make, and it includes massive concessions on immigration policy in exchange for funding for Ukraine. Joining me now is Brendan Buck, communications strategist and former press secretary to former House Speaker John Boehner. Brendan, it feels like this negging this immigration deal for Ukraine funding is Republicans cutting off their nose to spite their faces. Do you think they realize what they're doing here?
Well, there's some people who want to get something done and some people who like to have an issue. Look, if you are ever going to solve immigration or at least make progress on immigration, you're a Republican, now is the perfect time to do it. There's this perception in the Republican Party that if you just hold out and you wait for the stars to align and all the Republicans to control everything, that you get everything we want. That doesn't work. We tried that in 2018. It led to the longest government shutdown in history. The problem is you have some people who will only accept what they deem as perfect, or you have some people who simply don't want to give a win, want to have the issue. So I am highly, highly skeptical that whatever the Senate produces has any chance in the House whenever it comes along, because at this point, Mike Johnson's hanging on for dear life, and he doesn't really have any capital to spend to bring up something controversial like this. Well,
you don't get perfect in politics, right? That's just, it's a fantasy. And it, I think, also reveals that they're not actually interested in governance. This is a sweet deal for Republicans. Lindsey Graham says you're not going to get a better deal on immigration. At the same time, they're talking about getting rid of Mike Johnson, who hasn't made it, 100 days on the job. Do you think he lasts until Valentine's Day?
I think if he were to bring up something like this, it's very likely that they would at least move to remove him. Now, I think that's an open question whether Democrats would do what they did with Kevin McCarthy, where they all voted to boot him out. There's already rumblings that Democrats might vote to keep Mike Johnson in his position if he were to bring this up. Now, that's a very untenable position if you're the Republican speaker and you are keeping your job because of the minority. You never want to find yourself in that position. But let's be honest. A lot of this is about Ukraine. There is a huge movement in the House to end all support for Ukraine. And they put up this pretext that there needs to be really strong border reform to do anything like that. And surprising a lot of people, they might be able to get that deal. But now they don't know what they're going to do about it. So I think there's going to be a lot of fear mongering and there's going to be a lot of misinformation about what this Senate deal actually looks like to scare people. And again, I just think Mike Johnson has enough trouble on his plate that he realizes that this is not going to be worth it. It's not a must-do thing, and probably in his mind. So he'll find some reason, I think, to ignore this. He'll have incredible pressure to bring it up, but I think he's probably going to realize that he probably wants his job more than anything.
Well, yeah, and he's apparently been consulting with Donald Trump on the deal, who's waving him off of it, which really goes to the heart of all of this. This is about not giving Joe Biden any kind of legislative win in an election year, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you bring up the most important thing, the Donald Trump factor. I mean, he's a person who could tank this deal instantly. And we've already had one House Republican from Texas say he doesn't want to do anything to give Joe Biden a win at this point, saying it out loud. It's really frustrating. We've tried to do this time and time again over the years. This immigration issue is the hardest one we deal with. Eric Cantor was the majority leader in 2014 and lost his job, lost his primary over this one issue. And they all remember that, and they're all scared of people in their own districts about this issue. We seem to never be able to make progress because they all think someday that perfect border bill is going to come along and we're going to be able to get it all done at once. And as you said, that's just not how things work.
In the meantime, immigration, #1 issue for voters in the Iowa caucus. But don't do anything about it. Brandon Buck, my friend, thank you for this Friday night appearance. I appreciate it.
Yep.